Hello, this is Mrs. Grosch, and this lecture is about the layers of the atmosphere. The atmosphere is one of the Earth's systems. It's the layer of gases that surrounds Earth, and it's held in place by Earth's gravity. Without gravity, those gases would float away, but the Earth's gravity keeps them around Earth. The atmosphere is a mixture of gases. Most of the atmosphere is actually nitrogen, but there's also oxygen, carbon dioxide, and some other gases in the mixture. We call the whole mixture air. If you could travel from the surface of the Earth through the atmosphere into space, you would actually cross through several different layers of the atmosphere. Each layer has its own name and its own characteristics. Going up from the surface of Earth, the first layer is called the troposphere. This is the layer that you're most familiar with because it's what you walk around in. It only goes up about 12 kilometers from the surface of Earth, but 85% of all the air molecules in the atmosphere are in this layer. This is where we have weather. So any storms, clouds, anything like that you see are all in the troposphere. The layer of the atmosphere that is above the troposphere is called the stratosphere. It goes from 12 kilometers up to about 50 kilometers above Earth's surface. One really important thing about the stratosphere is that it contains a little layer of ozone. Ozone is a special form of oxygen, and it absorbs ultraviolet radiation from the sun. This is really important because ultraviolet radiation is dangerous. It can cause sunburns, wrinkles, and skin cancer. Above the stratosphere is a layer we call the mesosphere. This goes from 50 to 80 kilometers above Earth's surface. By the time you get to the top of this layer, you're at the coldest temperatures anywhere in the atmosphere. There are very few air molecules in this layer, but there are enough that when meteors come towards Earth, the friction of the meteor against the air molecules can make those meteors burn up, which is fortunate for us because otherwise we'd probably all be damaged in meteor storms. The layer above the mesosphere is much bigger than all the other layers. It goes from 80 all the way up to 500 kilometers above Earth's surface. The name of this layer is the thermosphere. It doesn't have very many air molecules, but the ones that it does have are moving very, very fast, which gives it the hottest temperature of all the layers in the atmosphere. One important thing about this layer is that it contains a thin layer of particles called the ionosphere. This layer, the ionosphere, can reflect radio waves and bounce them back towards Earth. This is important because radio waves only travel in straight lines. So if you're trying to send a radio signal to someone who lives on the other side of the world, well, the Earth is round, and so you can't send a straight line all the way across the surface of the Earth. But you can send it up into the ionosphere, and it'll bounce back down to Earth and bounce up again and keep bouncing until it gets to the receiver, even if the receiver is very far away. Technically, there's one more layer above the thermosphere, but you don't have to know it for this class. There are two measurements that we could make of the air as we travel through the atmosphere. One is air pressure. Air pressure is basically how heavy air is, and air pressure is much greater at the bottom in the troposphere than it is as you go up through the other layers. That's because most of the air molecules in the atmosphere are in that troposphere, and so the air feels much heavier down there than it does as you travel higher and higher. The other measurement that changes is temperature. But what's interesting is the temperature doesn't change consistently the way air pressure does. In some layers, as you go up, the temperature increases, but in other layers, as you go up, the temperature gets colder. It's that difference in how temperature changes that allows scientists to make boundaries between one layer and the next. And those are some basic facts that you should know about the atmosphere and the different layers that it has. I hope you've enjoyed this lecture. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in class tomorrow.